I directed a film for Quicksilver that helped save surfers' lives in giant waves. But it would never have happened if I hadn't told a lie years earlier, and if a world-class cinematographer hadn't said yes to a job he didn't really need. This is a story with two lessons, one about craft and one that completely changed how I chose projects. It starts in Havana, Cuba, and ends in California, and it shaped the way I work today. This red vest is now a standard piece of safety equipment for giant waves. It's the brainchild of one man, Peo Lizarazu. It was his idea. He invented it, and he surfs those waves himself. When Peo was at Quicksilver, he asked me to pitch an idea for a promotional film, so I wrote a treatment. A treatment is a short document, just words, that explains how a film should feel before it exists. The idea was accepted, but there was a problem. The budget was tight, so they couldn't fly me to San Diego for the part that needed to be done in the Aqualung headquarters. I had to direct those parts from France, which meant I needed a cinematographer in California that I trusted completely, someone who could work from my treatment, my shot list, and my mood board. I could only think of one person, Jason Lehel, and this is where the story folds back on itself. Jason was the cinematographer of a video I had directed years earlier in Cuba. It was the first music video I ever did, and the way I got that job was very unlikely. One day, my agent calls me and asks, "Do you do music videos?" I did not, but I said, "Yes, I do." I had done fashion and beauty films, mostly on Super 8. My photography portfolio was strong, but my video reel was weak. Too arty, nothing big. My agent said, "You see, there's this record label in London, and an artist they have saw a fashion shoot you did in a magazine and wants a video that looks like that." Well, it was a long shot, but why not try? I asked around for some advice, and I was told I needed a producer. I found one in London. His name was Chris. He said, "I have an idea," and he told me not to worry about my showreel. We go to the meeting in a fancy record label office. The artist is there, the label is there. I show my photography portfolio. They like it. Then Chris right away stands up and says, "Now you've seen Taiki's vision. He works with Jason, the cinematographer that we want for this shoot." I had never met Jason. I didn't even know who he was. So Chris plays Jason's showreel on the big TV, and suddenly we're watching music videos from U2 and other big bands. It felt like we were watching the best of MTV. The next day, we get the call. We got the job. Not only that, Chris convinced them to double the budget and to send us to Havana, because that's where I had shot the fashion pictures that the artist originally liked. We even got the same location, a place called Lugarida, famous for a film called Fraise e Chocolate, Strawberries and Chocolate. We shot the video on Super 16mm film with an incredible local crew. I also shot the album cover. And the first big lesson came on the last day of the shoot. The artist was standing by an old car parked on the street, and I asked, "Can we find the owner and rent the car?" And the crew said no need. They just opened the door and started setting up. It felt strange, but when the owner finally arrived, he was smiling. He was so happy. I guess he knew he'd be paid more on that day than he probably made in a month. Anyway, we were running a bit late, and the sun moved. We had lost the light inside the car. It was the last shot on the last day, and we needed it. The local crew didn't panic. I did. They ran into nearby buildings. Apartment buildings, people's places. I didn't know what they were doing. One came out with a giant mirror. He runs down the street to catch the sunlight from a cross street, and he sends that light back towards us. And another guy comes out from another apartment building with a second mirror. He caught that beam and redirected it again. And now suddenly the car lit up, and the artist lit up, and the light was beautiful. I said, "Let's shoot," and we got it. It was real problem solving under pressure. And since that day, I always have reflectors and mirrors on set. natural light or artificial light, it doesn't matter. I never forgot that efficiency. And that's why today I use these Datolite light stream reflectors. And I even introduced them into my teaching at École Gobelin in Paris, because they help students understand that light can be shaped, redirected, not just added, but molded and guided. The second lesson came a little bit later on the plane back to London. It was then I finally asked Jason, why did you accept this job? He was working with famous directors, the biggest bands in the world. Why take a lower budget job with the first-time director? And he said, because I thought I might learn something. Well, that stayed with me. Someone at the top of their game still choosing projects to learn. He explained that because I wasn't from the cinema world, but came from photography and fashion, he thought I might have a different way of directing and expressing and setting up shots and explaining how I saw the light, and perhaps something he hadn't come across before. And since then, I always ask myself, can I learn something? It's one of the main reasons I teach today. Sure, I share my experience and knowledge with students, but at the same time I learn. I don't learn from their techniques or their style because they haven't developed that yet. I learn from their naive way of approaching situations. They often do things that for me are the wrong way, but they make it work. The Japanese call this beginner's mind, and it's something I think should be respected. So now, when a project looks small or boring or beneath my skill level, I don't ask if it's prestigious. I ask one thing firstly, can I learn something? And if the answer is yes, I do it, especially if it's paid well. As photographers or filmmakers, that question alone can take you very far. Thank you so much for watching. You know what to do. I really appreciate it.